Hi, I'm here with Rog Villanueva, the Director of Global Web Marketing at Shure, which is celebrating its 100-year anniversary this year. Raj, thank you for hosting us here at Shure out in the Chicago suburbs. Raj has been instrumental as a leader and new Sitecore MVP in driving Shure's composable digital strategy with XM Cloud. Raj, thank you for having us here today. Tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get here to Shure?
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for having me, Eric. It's a real pleasure being here and glad you like our offices in Skokie. Well, it comes natural, but it's throughout my career, I always been involved and always liked digital marketing and technology. I always had a passion for it. I worked, my background is in computer engineering, and I had many roles in different industries. From I was a developer, and I actually put the 180 hours a week. I work in product management. I develop teams, small to big teams. I work in also implementing like digital transformation projects, website redesign projects. So I've been involved in different areas, in different industries. And so I always have a passion for this. And, when I saw the opportunity at Shure, I immediately jumped on it. Essentially, it immediately drew to me. Why? Because me being a musician, not a professional, I'm not a professional, but I can defend myself, I guess. But so I know.
Oh, don't worry. We'll splice a little B-roll in for you.
Oh no, I'm in trouble. But I know from many, many years back, the reputation, that Shure has for the quality of its product and the stellar audio quality. Not to mention, the history, the trajectory of Shure, especially this year, that 100 years, And when I saw the job description, to me, it was very, very appealing because it's like, wow, what a great opportunity to reflect the quality of those products in the digital footprint, in the digital ecosystem. So to me, it was another challenge, another great opportunity to provide something, to port something for myself and to work with the team as well. So, I applied and went through the interview process, and now I'm here and glad to be here. It's a great company.
It takes a real focus on innovation to keep a company that lives in a technical or a technological space relevant for more than a century. I've had the pleasure with you of being taken through the history of the company, through its founding days, through the awards that it has gathered for the impact that it has had on sound, a Grammy, an Emmy. And that must place a great deal of pressure on having a digital presence that's worthy of the level of innovation that the company has shown. How do you think about telling Shure's brand story in a digital environment in a way that is worthy of the company's own history of innovation? What are the things that you think about when you think about digital transformation that are necessary to properly represent the value of the brand?
Well, it's essentially thinking about what's most important, keeping doing the same thing, which is you, the customer, essentially, right? It's thinking about you. It's about being customer-centric. It's always putting the people and the customer at the center of all we do. And why? Because Shure makes products for the people. It can be for the audio engineer, it can be for the educator, it can be for the person in government. So it's transferring that same quality of products into the digital preference. Now how? Well, through different things. Number one is actually how do we communicate the brand? So number one is brand presence. It's how do we implement that brand presence? Now, if we talk about technology and the footprint, right, is Sitecore now plays a very important part because now with Sitecore XM Cloud, for example, we just finished a website redesign and in Sitecore XM Cloud, and it's a great opportunity for us to standardize branding. So it's standardized branding across media, video, website, social media. So when you have 100 years on your back and you keep doing that branding, focusing on the customer, and you do that through awareness of the company. You implement the company culture. I think you project that through your employees, through your awareness, through your activities you do outside of the company, from leadership all the way to people that work at the company. I think it's kind of like it just projects itself, in kind of like in a magical way per se.
No, it resonates very, very much with me. I am fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with specialists in lighting and sound, and they take the technology and the craftsmanship very, very seriously. And so when you are providing a technically specific product to an audience that cares very, very deeply about the technology and the changes in it and the benefits of it, communicating that in a digital marketplace can be really challenging. You had mentioned XM Cloud, so talk to me a little bit about, for a global brand that needs to retain that brand integrity across a variety of languages and cultures. You were just telling me your last two geographies went live. I think you went live in Poland, which completes the journey to XM Cloud, the scalability that's required. I'm curious, how has making that move to the cloud enabled you to deliver the type of scalability that you were looking for?
Yes, and there's a little bit of history behind it. So before, previous of XM Cloud and all of this migration, we were pretty much running on legacy systems and homegrown systems. And it was hindering, in many times, our progress and our innovation. And actually, it was also many times just limiting the customer expectations and needs. For example, if we needed an enhancement, it might have taken a week. Whether now it takes sometimes a day, and sometimes to build a page maybe an hour if it's something simple, right? But we had languages before, the same as we have now, and it was painful before, because we have different systems. We have like pieces together, and you say, well, you had pieces of software together, but it's not like composable architecture now, right? It was legacy systems, so it was very hard to manage. With multilingual now, we have the same languages, the same regions, but now we have them centralized. In XM Cloud, we have all the content there. We have the same branding there. We integrated with our translation system thanks to the composable architecture and the headless system that we use with XM Cloud. So we keep the branding, we manage the content in XM Cloud, and so every marketing team has its own region specifics. And you have to keep up with that because, for example, every region might have different regulations. For example, in China, there's different regulations.
Yep.
Maybe we have, for example, English in Europe and UK. So there's also that cultural nuance that you may want to implement across, from images to languages. So our marketing teams now have the ability to adjust to that. And, so it's, with XM Cloud, we have the ability to now adjust to that while keeping the brand intact as well.
So I'm hearing two things here. I'm hearing the ability to react to market conditions and move much more quickly in reaction to what your customer wants.
Exactly.
And I'm hearing the ability to maintain consistency across markets.
Correct.
While maintaining that global brand identity and global scale.
Correct.
Are there any other ways that your web marketing efforts have been improved by moving to the cloud or implementing a composable architecture?
Yes, in many ways. It's very important because it's addressing our customers, and not just our external customers, but also our internal customers, which is the ones who are working with XM Cloud, right? Our marketers. So one of the big advantages is, for example, page building. Before it might take us days to build something, and now we cut to 40 to 50% approximately in building pages, the time in building pages. The other thing is performance as well. Before, with our legacy systems, our sites were running maybe from 3 to 10 seconds, where now some pages in milliseconds, depends on what data you're pulling. The other thing is SEO. SEO is more flexible now, so we have the ability to update more metadata and all that, whether before it was a little bit challenging. So there's all these different advantages. Now that we have the website redesign, I think we have built that foundation, that was the first step. It wasn't the end. It was the first step. Now, how we can make the website a marketing tool. That's the next step. So we have to focus on personas. We have to focus on that customer journey. We have to focus more on the customer. We have to make more personalization as well. Essentially make the website more customer-centric.
I'm going to use the biggest 4-letter word in tech right now, AI.
Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about how you're experiencing AI. AI is transforming how brands handle content, both in terms of how that content is experienced in a digital world that is now populated by bots and agents as much as it is by people in search engines, as well as how you think about using AI for personalization, for content optimization, for automation. Where is Shure on the AI journey, both in terms of being reactive to the world we live in and proactive about that world?
Well, Shure considers, Shure is a company of innovation in its products, and now we're moving into a digital presence, right? So AI is very important to us, and we're definitely on the path on that. Now, the first thing, and we are using AI in some instances, the first thing for sure in AI is creating that awareness. Because some people might think it's what's AI, is it a Terminator thing, it's like the rise of the machines or something, right? Maybe not, but it's kind of like creating that awareness of what it is and how it can actually help instead of hindering, someone's work. So it's that part. The other very, very important part for us is the legal aspect, right? What can you do? What can you not do? You cannot just upload all this company secrets in AI because they might get shared, or who might know. So the first thing is awareness and that legal aspect. The next thing is how can we actually use it? For example, translations. Translations is a very important part of us because it goes to machine learning. It goes translations. So before, if it took 3 weeks before to translate something, maybe it's faster now. Now, that's not taking the human involvement. It's still being reviewed by a human because it's not perfect AI, right? The other thing is AI tools that can help you with more, issues. For example, Microsoft, right? Copilot. A lot of people use Copilot now, whether it's with Outlook, with Word, with Excel. So that's another AI thing that it's more for how can you make people more productive, right? Now, the other thing is generative AI as well. It's something that kind of like to look out for, especially in CMS systems. And we're not using it for XM Cloud right now, but it's kind of like, is that something maybe coming? It's something that can help us with media, with video production, with image creation, with content. Personalization is definitely something we're looking into as well.
Well, and you talked about SEO, and the biggest impact we're seeing in many of our clients is that what used to work in SEO doesn't anymore, because the new search engine might be an Instagram reel or ChatGPT or the Gemini summary. And so having content that's contextualized to be experienced by a bot is another way that we see a lot of our clients on XM Cloud dealing with the impact of AI on digital marketing.
And we're starting to see that in our analytics, that it's not just, when you see the referrals, it's not just, like DuckDuckGo before, or Google or Facebook. You're starting to see all these AI agents now. So the question is, how can you start, or how can you continue optimizing for agents? Because a lot of people, I know for a fact now, instead of going to Google, they're going to one of these agents now, and because they give answers right away. So it's definitely a game changer and something that we definitely are preparing for and continue to work on it.
You talked about analytics. Let's double click on that for a second. You've now completed a global migration. You're now really optimizing the site to be experienced by the customer that you've put at the center of your business right here on your 100th anniversary. And so as you think about the next chapter, now that the platform is live globally, what are the business insights that you're looking to get from the experience? What metrics will you be looking at to determine if the investment was successful? How do you determine effectiveness?
Yes. Well, the first thing is project completion on time and on budget, right? So check. That was the check. The next thing is we start to take a look at the most basic KPIs or metrics, right? For example, we take a look at page views or sessions, to see the engagement of users. Are people actually visiting the site more or less? We take a look at visitor engagement. Bounce rate doesn't really exist anymore in Google Analytics, but we take a look at, for example, exit rate or time on page, average time on page, or average time per visit. Those are kind of like the basic elements. We take a look at the pages being browsed. There's a lot of technical documentation on our site, a lot of downloads, a lot of software updates, a lot of form submissions. So we also take a look at that and see what's the level of engagement. It's very interesting because before we had a lot of interactions on the site. Even the navigation, we had like 3 layers. So there was a lot of things going on. With the redesign, we simplified things. We actually made it specific for users. We incorporated personas. So now it's very different because you're seeing a change in how people are looking for information. So those are the kind of like the things we're looking for. Time on site sometimes is interesting because it might show lower or higher, but you might say, well, is it because they're actually finding something quicker? Or is it because they're not finding it interesting, right? So we use heat maps as well, to see where people are going and detect areas of opportunity as well.
Given the breadth and in particular the depth of content that you're creating and managing, how do you think about what will happen to content management over the next 3 to 5 years, given how much technology has changed?
Definitely, the work is going to progress from a lot of manual work to definitely AI. People are now doing it, People even to get a simple idea, hey, I need to write a piece of how to use the MV6 right here, or the S55 or the SM70, right? And it gives you ideas. So people are starting to use that. So I think AI is going to be a big part of it, whether it's incorporated to the CMS, or using an agent. And I think people are going to start using that and that more. Now, the problem with that is, though, it can get very robotic, and sometimes very unhumanized. And so I believe it's okay to use it, but I think there still has to be that human factor, Now, it's okay to use it and maybe in campaigns, things like that, but I still believe that the human factor still needs to be there at some point,
How does that show up in a global company with local experiences, right? You've got global brand consistency, this global presence, a global platform, but your interactions are hyper-local. You're serving very, very specific communities, whether those are corporate audiences to large-scale concerts and events, certainly your presence in the entertainment industry. How do you speak to a variety of local audiences and still maintain that brand consistency?
Now, currently, or you mean like in the future?
Where do you see it going? Yeah, where do you see that going?
I think with AI, it can definitely be helpful because with AI, you can set those factors or those parameters with personalization, right? And you can say, for example, hey, I need to create this page where there's this event about this artist, about target audience in the age frame of this, etc. Write me a piece or something, and then you can have an ad campaign specifically for that specific audience. Now, if you're in, I don't know, France, and you're gonna present, I don't know, some sort of artist, you can set those parameters. So it's becomes easier instead of people, going and doing a lot of research and all of that. I think it's just gonna facilitate and speed up so you can get more speed to market using an AI tool instead of being your enemy, it can be your friend.
When you moved to the cloud, how did you see the pace you were able to move at change? Because speed of performance, time to market are really critical, particularly when your brand is built around innovation. In moving to a composable cloud-based cloud-native architecture, you were able to avail yourself of greater speed to market. How is that showing up in the experience of the marketer today as opposed to previously?
Well, we are building page. We have improved from 40 to 50% in page build. So I think that's significant. Before, like I mentioned, like we were building pages sometimes in a week, and now if it's a simple page in a day, or in an hour, but it's definitely navigation, for example. Before it might take us days. Now navigation we can do it in minutes sometimes, and display results on demand. So that was very big for us, changes on demand instead of waiting, because customers, they want things now. They cannot wait until tomorrow. Deployments as well, it's another thing, and now they're easy, they're more seamless, because of the cloud. So there's definitely a lot of advantages, especially when you do product launches as well. We can schedule them. There's so many advantages and so many things that XM Cloud has brought positive things for us.
What's the best piece of feedback you've received from your stakeholders about the program that you've delivered? What makes you proud of what you've accomplished here?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, they like the look and feel, because we changed the entire visual. And the other thing they like is, and they tell us, I can find things pretty quick. You want a microphone, navigation is simplified. And the other thing is the XM Cloud interface where you drag and drop. So there's a whole bunch of advantages, but I think the biggest one is the visual lift we did, the infrastructure. The downtime has almost reduced to none. Before it was pretty high sometimes. So,
And now, having been through the project, what was the biggest surprise for you? What was the biggest upside to the positive that you didn't expect?
Wow. Of the project?
And its delivery. Now that you're live, what has been the greatest upside surprise?
That's a good question. I never thought of that question, because I just think that the project overall has been so successful because it was a very aggressive time. It was 7 months.
Wow.
We completed the project in 7 months, and 12 languages, 23 regions. It's very aggressive, I really congratulate our team and our partners who work with us, because they work relentlessly, and I salute them, because it was a very enormous effort. So I think the fact that we accomplished that as a team, that means a lot to me, and I think it's a good example, to set.
Over the past several weeks, I have been fortunate enough to experience a very, very large number of existing Sitecore customers make the decision to upgrade to XM Cloud. Been fortunate enough to see Sitecore selected for XM Cloud by some really exciting new logos to us and some of the greatest brands in the world. As I now go out and talk to dozens of companies about what they're about to experience, what advice should I give them? What advice would you give them?
Okay, that's easy. Know what you want. Like, exactly know what you want to get out of the project, and know why. Why do you want to do that? Because it's very easy to say, I just want to change the website, or I just want to change this and that. But it's a very long process. Not long, but it's a very thorough process. It involves people, it involves processes, it involves change. And sometimes change is the most difficult things for people. But I would say, know why you really want to do this, and if you're really committed to that, if you have a committed team to do that, and get good partners like Sitecore and other partners out there. You know who you are.
So let's close with a little bit of a lightning round. What's your favorite Shure product?
Oof. Well, you know what? I always been a fan of the SM58, honestly. That's like the most iconic microphone. Well, actually, no, this is more iconic, actually. But the SM58, it's unbreakable. You see it everywhere. It was my first microphone. I loved it. I think I still have the first one somewhere. But, I like all microphones, even the ones we have here. Everybody's probably seen this one, which is the newest SMDV podcasting microphone, the gamer podcasting microphones, and obviously the classic. But yeah, I would say the SM58 probably. It's simple. it's just, works.
Raj, what was the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
Just believe in yourself, if that you can actually do this. Like, stand up and do it, and don't look back. Like, just do it.
You're a musician yourself. What inspires you? What music do you turn to for inspiration? What's the most played song on your Apple
Oh my
Music
gosh,
playlist,
it's
or your Spotify playlist?
oh my gosh, I have so many. I like progressive rock, like Rush through Theater to Yanni to Rush to you name it. I mean, to Buena Vista Social Club. I mean, it's
If you were to
like
pick
all
up
kinds.
my iPhone right now, you'd hear pretty much a collection of Cher songs on repeat, but that's a story for another day.
There you go.
If you had the opportunity to work with any visionary in the technology industry, who would it be?
Yeah, that's an easy one. And it's going to sound like a cliche and you can probably guess, right? But honestly, I think it would be Steve Jobs. So a lot of people are going to go, oh my gosh, okay, whatever, But honestly, I know he was a tough guy, And some people say, well, he wasn't really a developer, a coder, all of this. But you know what? He had vision. He had vision and he knew what he wanted. And he just went for it. And he knew how to direct people. He knew how to motivate people. People follow him. And he just had great ideas. I mean, if you think his progression, unfortunately until when he passed away, he actually delivered awesome things. And I know he was tough. And sometimes the creativity sometimes supersedes personality, I guess. I don't know.
It does. Well, look, Raj, I've told your story numerous times. I think that you're becoming a Sitecore MVP is inspiring. I
thank
would
you.
love to see many, many more of our clients do so. I am so delighted that you joined me for today's Digital
thank you.
Visionary series. It's really just incredible to see how Shure is leveraging XM Cloud to deliver digital experiences at scale. Thank you, Raj. Thank you for inspiring our audience today. Thank you, Shure, for continuing to innovate. And thank you to all of you for joining us today.